chicken fried steak. I'm not sure there's a recipe out there with a more confusing name. Is it chicken or is it steak? We're going to get into it, but I'm here to tell you it is so dang delicious. It's incredibly easy to make. I know you're going to love this recipe. Chicken fried steak is essentially a thinly sliced piece of cube steak that's been coated in a fried chicken-like batter that is then fried and served with a gravy. Nothing more than that. It's super simple, super delicious, and that's why the name is what it is. And it's a very inexpensive way to make a fantastic weeknight or weekend meal. Little taste of down south, my friends. So the first thing we're going to do, though, is start off with a little prep. Sound good? Let's cook. I've got a 3 to 3.5 pound bottom round steak that I picked up from the grocery store. This is what's going to be used in our cube steak for our chicken fried steak. But the first thing I'm going to do is trim off a little bit of the excess fat and sinew that you're going to find on the front and the top part. If you have a boning knife, fine. I just happen to have my chef knife lying around, so I'm using that. Be sure to be careful because you don't want to take off too much meat, just the excess fat. You can still see the beautiful marbling that's in this steak. It looks fantastic and it's perfectly prepped up to go to the next stage. Now, the most popular cut of meat to use when cubing a steak is going to be a bottom round, but you can absolutely use top round. And if all you have is a big old roast in the freezer that you want to pull out and use, I'm here to tell you, you can use it. We're going to pound it pretty thin, so you're honestly not even going to know what this is when it's all said and done. Now you see the grain running down like this. We'll just call it north to south, okay? We want to slice it against the grain. So what we're going to do is just flip it over and slice against it. And after we get down to this first piece, I'm going to probably slice them about a 1/2 inch to 3/4 inches thick. That way, when I pound it out, it'll be nice and big and incredibly tender. So go ahead and slice it. And if you're getting to a part where there's a tendon or a muscle, just simply cut around it. We're going to set it to the side on a plate and get ready to pound them out. So I'm guessing, much like you, I do not have a cuber. You can purchase one for about 125, 150 bucks, and it's like a rolling machine. Think of like a pasta maker, but in the inside, it's got 2 bars with prongs sticking out. And what it does is when you run the meat through while cranking on it, it flattens it out and it pierces it and tenderizes it, just like it would when using a mallet. Well, obviously, since I don't have one, I'm going to use a mallet, and here's how easy it is to pound out steak. I've got a couple of long strips of plastic wrap that I've sort of folded over each other, and what I'm going to do here is place it on the cutting board and then set one piece of sliced steak right on top. Go ahead and grab the bottom part of the plastic wrap and put it over it. Now grab your trusty mallet, and here's what we want to do. We want to pound this out until it's very thin, honestly like a 1/4 inch to even an 1/8 inch thin. The thinner it is, the more tender it's going to be, and the more easy it is going to be to eat. So once it is tender, you can see it almost has that perfect cubed-like steak appearance that you will get from the grocery store. We're going to take it off the plastic wrap and we're going to set it to the side on a sheet tray that's been lined with parchment paper. You know me, I'm cooking like I feed for the entire neighborhood. That's the Italian to me, can't help myself. But this does freeze very, very well. So while I have about 15, 16 pieces, I'm only going to use about 5 or 6 to cook now. I'm going to put them on those pieces of parchment paper, and what I want to do is simply freeze them and pull them out as I need them. Boom. And the reason I like to do this is because it ends up being a little bit cheaper than buying cube steak already from the store. But with that being said, absolutely. You don't want to go through slicing it, pounding it out, or running it through a cuber if you have one. Go ahead and buy cube steak from the grocery store. No one's going to judge you. Here's what we do next. Time to make the gravy. I know I've made this a million times, but we're going to make a roux, starting off with some unsalted butter that we want to melt. We're going to put the heat down to low. We do not want to burn this butter. Make sure you do not do it. Once the butter is completely melted in this medium-sized sauce pot, we're going to add in some all-purpose flour and then immediately whisk it to bring all of those ingredients together. Now, because we're adding in milk, we want our roux to be a white roux, so we do not want to cook it very much. Once it is really combined, what we're going to do is add in some whole milk. It's going to add nice fat, nice flavor, and make it delicious gravy for a chicken fried steak. But what we're going to do is crank the heat up to medium high. What this does is sort of activate the roux to help thicken it up.
Now, I'm a firm believer in constantly stirring this so nothing sticks to the bottom. That roux can stick to the bottom, and then before you know it, boom, it thickens up. This looks absolutely excellent. And a great way to know if your sauce is thickened is run a spoon in it and then take your finger and run it down the center. See how that top part does not go into the bottom part of our sauce? That's called nappe. That is perfect consistency. It's a nice thick sauce. We finish it up by seasoning very well with salt and pepper. Grab a whisk again and mix all of these things until completely combined. Now we need to go back to the steak, but we want to keep it warm, so go ahead and set it to the side until it's time to use it.
So if you've been watching me for a little while, you know that I essentially just made bechamel, minus the onion, bay leaf, and clove. It's the exact same sauce. And the reason I made so much is because extra gravy for mashed potatoes. I mean, chicken fried steak and mashed potatoes with gravy, score, my friends. Super, super good. So now we are going to get into breading these up, but it moves super quickly, okay? So hang on and follow close. Here we go.
Time to make that batter. Add some eggs to a dish. I like to use a pie pan. Not sure why, just do. Add in some whole milk next. Now I'm going to hit it with a few dashes of some hot sauce, and we want to season it with salt and pepper. Now the school of thought is to season up your batter or season up your meat. I like the batter. Now grab a whisk or a fork or whatever you have and completely combine these ingredients just like you're making scrambled eggs, my friends. Once it's there, set it to the side. Now for the flour, I've got some all-purpose flour, and then the next little trick is some cornstarch. This is going to help make the batter really fluffy. You could use baking powder in place of the cornstarch. Now I've got some seasonings. First, some paprika. Next, I've got some onion powder. These are more like onion granules, and garlic powder or garlic granules, and some black pepper. And of course, we want to season it up with a little bit of sea salt. Grab a fork, a whisk, whatever you've got again, and thoroughly mix this until it is completely combined. Now, one of my rules of thumb is you should absolutely taste it. So stick your finger in there, give it a taste, make sure it is seasoned and delicious. Now, let's bread up. Here we go. So add your cube steak and thoroughly mix it into the egg wash. We're going right over to the flour. And then what I like to do is sort of change hands so that you don't have big old battered gloves or fingers, and press it down on both sides several times. We want this to be completely coated. This is what gives it that beautiful, delicious outside crust. So once you've patted it down a few times, make sure it's completely coated. We are going to set it to the side on a sheet tray lined with parchment paper, and we're just about time to start cooking.
Now that these are all battered up, we need to fry them immediately. And when it comes to oil, I'm a huge fan of safflower oil. It's a little bit more expensive, it's a little bit better for you, and it has a really high smoking point. I want to encourage you to use the oil that you are most comfortable with. I mean, it can get expensive when you're using things like olive oil or even avocado oil or things like that, but use what you're comfortable with. Now,
in a large frying pan, I'm going to add in my safflower oil. We're at about medium to medium high heat. We want to get it to about 350 degrees. If you don't have a thermometer, just hit it with a little flour. After a minute or so, it starts to fry like that, we are good to go. Now add in your steak, and if your pan's big enough, you can probably fit 2 or 3, just like me. If not, we're going to have to do it in batches, which is no problem. The beautiful thing about chicken fried steak is it cooks very quickly. You're talking maybe 1.5 to 2.5 minutes per side for this to be nice and golden brown and cooked through. This looks fantastic. What I'm going to do is set it to the side on a sheet tray with a rack. If you don't have a rack, no problem. You can drain off any excess oil with a few paper towels. Once you are done cooking in batches, we're just going to take it off and we're going to go to the countertop because we're getting really close to plating up this delicious chicken fried steak.
The gravy's done, the chicken fried steak are done, and it smells amazing in here. And to all my commies, my chefs in training, you put these fundamental techniques into practice every single day, like how to properly pound out steak to make cube steak. You can apply it to chicken, you can apply it to pork, even the seasonings that go into the flour batter, the cornstarch to help make it a little bit fluffier. Put these things into your everyday practice. I promise you, your food will be that much better. And when you make homemade food from scratch, it always tastes significantly better than anything that you get out there. You know the ingredients, you did it yourself. It's dang delicious, my friends. Well, now that we got everything, we're gonna plate up in slow-mo.
So I don't know why, but I'm going to serve this in a cast iron skillet. Just thought it would look really cool. Obviously, that extra southern touch. You can, of course, serve it on a plate, platter, whatever you've got. Totally up to you. And then hit it with that gravy. There's plenty left over for mashed potatoes, or if you're one of those people who likes a little protein with your gravy, I've got plenty for you, my friends. To finish it off, a little bit of sliced green onions and parsley for some nice greenery, and man, oh man, check out this beauty.
All I have to say is if you don't make this, you're crazy. It comes together in under 30 minutes. The most amazing weekday, weeknight meal. You got this, my friends. Be sure to subscribe to my channel, like and share this video, and check out this video right here. I made it for you. You'll love it. We'll see you on there.